10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2,
Manchester
1,
United have
0.
reached the promised land.
Well, I'm not going to say good morning because it's not a good morning. It's just a morning. It's a morning after the night before, after another humiliation at the hands of Liverpool. 9-0 in aggregate. We lost to them in the Premier League this year. And the reaction to this has been as painful as you would imagine it to be. You saw my match reaction last night. I also took a look at Roy Keane's comments. That man on the wall there, you'll realise the Dutch energy is gone. And Roy Keane's back, the man who did set the standards as the greatest captain that we've ever had in the Premier League. And how the mighty have fallen. Where Manchester United are right now, where our biggest rivals Liverpool are right now, the gap is colossal. Absolutely colossal. So good morning, I suppose, to all of you. Welcome to United People's TV. This literally is, I've got them out here. It's literally going to be the therapy room this morning. So you can let me know. I'm not actually going to wear these. I only wear these when I'm watching TV. But that's what it feels like. I've kind of joked about it quite a few times here on United People's TV. Welcome to the therapy room. After a bad defeat, we come here the morning after. And then it doesn't get any better. It doesn't get any better. I genuinely didn't think it could get any lower than that 5-0 against Liverpool at Old Trafford. And then I saw that last night. Penny for this man's thoughts. Seriously, it's what I said in the tweet there. Fergie, literally his life's work unraveling in front of his eyes. Spent 30 years bringing Manchester United back out the shadows, knocking Liverpool off their perch. He won 13 Premier League titles, knocked them completely off their perch, and they've just taken it right back in the 8-10 years since he's gone. Look, you need to let me know what you think about everything that happened yesterday in that game, your reaction, your thoughts on all of it. I'm going to run through, we're going to have a little discussion at the start of this video about that. I'm also going to run through Ralf Rangnick's comments about this Manchester United rebuild. Yes, we're talking about a rebuild again. Not the first one, not the second one, not the third. I don't know, third or fourth one that we've had post-Fergie. This one hopefully will be different, and it should be different. Well, I'll explain exactly why. But Ralf Rangnick is a man who speaks honestly and truthfully. And he did exactly that after that humiliation last night. So I'm going to run through his comments. Going to run through some comments from Gary Neville, from Roy Keane as well, as us just having a conversation about last night. I mean, it was bad. Stephen Lawrence, what you're saying over here on Facebook, saying absolute disgrace last night. No commitment, fight, passion. There's a joke, and they don't deserve to wear the shirt. I mean, it's I've said this to you before. You sound like not an amateur football fan, but because we've got to speak in cliches so much. Oh, there's no passion, there's no desire, there's no fight. You just end up repeating yourself, and you kind of sound like a bit of an idiot. But that's the situation that United's team has forced you into by watching Manchester United. Simply put, they're not there. It's why Gary Neville went as far as to say that Hannibal was. Look, I was going to say this towards the end of the show, but I'll say it now, I suppose. Gary Neville picked out Hannibal during the commentary, and he felt like he had to apologize for it because he felt like he was being unprofessional. But what we saw from Hannibal in the last 5 minutes or 5-10 minutes or so, you were like, where was that? Where was that needle? Where was any of that from any of the players? And it took like a dirt, I think it was Navigator on Lingard, took a dirty tackle from him to actually get any sort of spark into our players. And then they started flying in. Should have been like that from the first whistle. First whistle. Oh, man, last night was just... I think Roy Keane, look, as I said, look, go and watch the, if you haven't watched it already, I released it at 7 o'clock this morning. There was simply too much fallout from last night for me to not do an extra video, which is why I did that. And I focused purely on Roy Keane's comments because Roy Keane, a man who's notorious for being an angry man, he's just reached a level of apathy. He's just reached a level when he's like, I mean, what's the point of being angry anymore? What is the point in being angry anymore? That's what Roy Keane's at, and that's exactly where I'm at. What is the point in being angry with this team anymore? Yesterday, we went in there to Anfield, and my expectation was this. Expect the worst, hope for the best. The expectations proved to be correct. My prediction was 4-1. Gave us a little bit too much credit. I think we had one shot on target. Sandeep, what are you saying? I can hold everyone Don't know what that means. I can hold everyone. Ole did a shocking job, and all the profile of players we bought were wrong. Wish I was wrong, but I'm right. Huge rebuild needed. Clearly, the signings that Solskjaer made, he bought them with the right intentions by comparison of Ed Woodward and what he was trying to buy signings for. But ultimately, Solskjaer was wrong. The team was wrong. United were wrong. Wan-Bissaka will be leaving. Harry Maguire will be leaving. Dan James already left. Fred, he wasn't signed by him. Can't remember who else he signed. Obviously, Varane, Sancho, both decent signings, but Varane, he's a sick note at the moment. Hopefully, he'll come back next year. But if anybody's trying to blame Solskjaer, I'm not replying to your comments. I'm not here this morning to get into that sort of argument. I'm here to look at what happened last night and to start taking a forward look here. I'm not going to get dragged into any sort of argument. Oh, this manager's more at fault than this manager, but this manager, they're all fucking at fault. Every single person's at fault who's been involved at Manchester United since Fergie's gone. But look, I've said this, and I know that honestly, I've seen quite a lot of people like, come on in, Sam. When are you going to start talking about how shit Ralf Rangnick is as a manager? And I'm like, for real? Yeah, you can. I would say Ralf Rangnick's biggest mistake that he has made as Manchester United manager has been sticking by Harry Maguire. It's never been a good thing, and it's never paid off either. Ralf Rangnick, the only reason he fucking played a back five last night is because we were so bad at defending against bottom of the league Norwich that he probably looked at that team and went, how can I make this more defensively secure? Okay, I'll play a back seven. I'll put Phil Jones. That was a mistake. All right, we're talking about mistakes that Ralph's made. Phil Jones was the biggest mistake he made last night. Not because Phil Jones is a terrible player. We saw he was decent against Wolves, and fingers crossed he doesn't get injured and he leaves United at the end of the year. But to put him in that game with that intensity, he was puffing out of his arse after like 25 minutes. Erik Bailly, I think Erik Bailly is a lost cause now. If I was Erik Bailly, I'd be a lost cause after just being left on the bench for a half-fit Harry Maguire away at Leicester by Solskjaer, and then away at Anfield for a Phil Jones who literally cannot play 45 minutes. But Rangnick is not the problem, right? Rangnick is an interim manager who was brought in having not managed for 2 years. I've told you, we're still yet to see the best of Rangnick exists in the press conferences, in what he says, in the narrative that he drives. And that might be a foolish or a strange thing to say about the current manager of our football club. But this 6-month period of him as an interim manager was an inconvenience for him. It was the thing that got in the way of him being the consultant that he has grown into becoming, the actual technical director. Geez, like I told you, man, like these players, after one training session, he got these players playing properly. And they were like, nah, can't be asked for that. That's fucking hard. Nah, I'm all right. Then we had 72 shots against Burnley, Southampton, and Middlesbrough. That was the point where if those 3 results went differently, I think the course of the end of this season would have been different. But the path was set then. If we're not going to win games when we've got 72 shots, we're not going to win anything. And at that point, the belief sort of left the players and it started to sort of drip out down there, right? But look, every time I see him and hear him speak, look, this is what he said after the game last night. This team needs to be rebuilt. It is clear. A game like today showed in a very drastic way that this rebuild is necessary. And that's not where he stopped. He said there will be a real rebuild for sure. That was obvious in the first 3 or 4 weeks for me. It's no wonder that a lot of these players don't like playing under Ralf, because he says it as it is. And that approach of having no smoke and mirrors and actually just saying it for what it is, I really like. So often, as Manchester United fans, and football fans really in general, you're just fed lies, aren't you? You're just fed lies. But Ralf Rangnick there saying it exactly how it is. And as I said, that's probably the reason why so many of these players are like, I'm done. But at the same time, we're starting Pogba yesterday, he's leaving. Starting Matic, he's leaving. Lingard came on, he's leaving. Jeez, it's hard to be enthusiastic about the team you support now when the team you support doesn't feel like that team anymore. We feel like a ghost of ourselves. Gangshi, my friend, thank you very much for always supporting the channel. I always say that. What have you got to say about it last night? You're saying it's blatantly obvious that these players are incapable of carrying out the style of play Rangnick wants. We need a total reset with new top quality players and youth coming through. Hopefully this can happen with Ten Hag coming in. And look, Malenga, you saying you felt embarrassed last night is exactly what Gangshi is getting towards there. And Gangshi, look, you're right. And I hope it does happen. And the thing that needs to change and the thing that really needs to be different going forward is buying players for the right reasons. And that's why this concept of a manager with a true identity is something that can hopefully steer us in the right direction in the future. The problem beforehand has always been when you chop and we've spoken about this a ton of times before, haven't we? Going from Louis van Gaal to Mourinho, from Moyes to Solskjaer to Rangnick, you know, completely different styles of football. And therefore, what worked for one manager or didn't work for one manager, therefore, it's definitely not going to work for the next one. So whoever comes in next looks at the squad and goes, that squad's not suitable for my style of play. Right, let's scrap it up and let's start again. Ten Hag has to do that, but he needs to get the longevity of 3-4 years. It's going to take, in my opinion, I always said it would take 3. I think it will take 2 full seasons, so summer and winter transfer windows, 2 full ones. And at the start of the third one, we should be able to look at this and go, you know what? Now we're starting to see this team come together. Because the reality of what happens in football is you can't get rid of the amount of players that United need to get rid of. You can't get rid of in one summer. That's how bad the issues are at United. Ian, he's saying, hi, Sam, good video on Roy. He's feeling the pain. Fabrizio's video is a good talking point. I haven't watched Fabrizio's video. I'll take a look at it after this. Spoiler alert, I'm going to be doing another video on Harry Maguire this afternoon. I've said this quite a few times on the channel. I don't like going after individuals because I know the problems at the club are systemic and they sort of infect and affect every single player. But when you're captain, I told you're held to a different standard that he made, and I'm done with Harry Maguire. I'm completely not done. Delicate saying, well, Sam, who are you going to put on the pitch beside Jones? Maybe it's totally up to them to show a certain attitude on the pitch, like Erik Bailly. As I said, he was available, wasn't he? He's been available the whole time. Obviously, a lack of options, maybe, yeah, but it's just it's bad, man. It's so bad. Look, and Ralf saying that after the game yesterday, not a knee-jerk reaction. This is what he said before the game. He said and I did a video on this yesterday, didn't I? Ralf Rangnick's interview he did with Sky Sports, where he was talking about the rebuild and what needs to be done. This is what he said. This is on the official Manchester United website, by the way. He said, in general, if you look at the size of the way the team needs to be rebuilt, I mean, it's not enough to bring in 3 or 4 new players. It will be more, bearing in mind how many players will no longer be here with the contracts running out. And that really is a big issue. Not only do Manchester United need new signings and need to get rid of players this summer, but it's a summer where we're losing tons of players on free transfers, none of which I'll be particularly sad about. Pogba, not gonna shed a tear. Cavani, not gonna shed a tear. Mata, I love Mata. He was great. I did like Mata. I won't shed a tear, though. It's the right time for him to leave. Matic, yeah, I mean, we need midfielders, but probably the one that affects the squad the most is Matic. Might be wrong to say that. You could probably say Pogba, but I'm not going to shed a tear out of any of them, over any of them. But on top of that, we have to sell players. Jones, Martial, Pereira, 3 to begin with. Erik Bailly is probably going to be so unhappy now that he has to leave. And then look, this is what he said after the game. There could be 6, 7, 8, maybe 10 new players. Now, I know Ralf is an intelligent man. I know, maybe I'm wrong. I don't think he means in one summer there. That is literally impossible. But it's the scale of what Manchester United have to do. Because I hate to do this because it's fucking Liverpool. But when looking at what Liverpool have done and the squad that Klopp inherited to the squad that Klopp has now, I think, as Rangnick correctly said, there's probably like 5, 6 players roughly that still exist from when he took over to that team now. That means that if that's the case at Manchester United, we've got 28 players at the squad, I think, in the club. That means 22 of them won't be here in 3, 4, 5 years' time. That's the scale of the turnaround that we need. And yeah, I suppose we can all now put our hands up and say that a lot of the signings made under Solskjaer were not correct. We stood by it. We supported. We saw and we hoped and we saw the goodness of. I think we saw good patches of Harry Maguire last year, and then we saw great patches of Harry Maguire during the Euros for England. But now what we're seeing this season is just he's been exposed, and instead of getting out of that quicksand, he's just getting sucked deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And he's not coming out of it anymore. And that's why, for me, I'm done. But look, I've already done a video on sort of a Ten Hag's keep or sell list. And you can look at my sell list there. I had Tuanzebe. Who have I got? Tuanzebe, Martial, Lingard, Pogba, Lee Grant, Maguire, Wan-Bissaka, Phil Jones, Mata, Cavani, Pereira. What's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 players. Not necessarily all being sold. Some of them simply just leaving the club because of free transfers. Realistically, type it in the comments, actually. Who do you think we're actually going to sell? And as I said, I want a realistic list. Because I could say all 11 there. Boom. I'd love to say it. Realistically, we're not selling 11 players this summer. It's not going to happen. ML, you're saying, Sam, nothing is impossible. I hope, though. Look, I hope we get rid of as many of those players as possible. Because there are, as I said, if we're talking about what's worked for Liverpool and Klopp, and the idea that only 6 players existed from that team that Klopp took over to the team that now is on for the quadruple, and we apply that same logic to Manchester United and Ten Hag coming in the summer, which of these players can you confidently say that are going to be at the club in like 4 or 5 years? I think you can say Bruno Fernandes. I don't really care what anybody says. I know Bruno Fernandes has had a very poor season by comparison to the standards he set last year. But Bruno Fernandes is going to be here in 4 years' time, man. I think Ten Hag will turn him into a super player. Super player. Bruno Fernandes, he'll be in 4 years' time. Ahmad, I mean, he might. He might. McTominay, probably. Hopefully, Bruno and Sancho. I can probably say confidently that those two are going to stay for the next 4 years. Hannibal, hopefully he'll be here, but depends on the chances he gets. Who else can you actually say in there with any real confidence? Marcus Rashford? Not the way he's playing at the moment. There really is not a long list of players that you can say with any true confidence there'll be a Manchester United player in 3-4 years' time. That's the scale of the rebuild we've got there. You've got Ralf Rangnick there admitting in public, in his post-match press conference, we need like 7, 8, maybe 10 new players over the space of 2 to 3 seasons. In my opinion, I don't think he meant that for one summer. I mean, be great, but this is the Glazers. We know what they do, and we know that they don't do that. We know that the Glazers spend more typically when we finish outside the top 4. They broke that pattern last year with Solskjaer. Oh, my God. Craig, I'll read a few of your comments out now, and then we'll move on. Won't move on. We'll just keep talking. Alex King, De Gea, new contract. No, De Gea's not getting a new contract. End of story. Craig is saying we'll be lucky to sell 3 players. I think we'll sell more. I think we'll sell more than that. Matt, you're saying I agree with that list. I think Ten Hag will want to get rid of those quickly. I think, unfortunately, we're stuck with Maguire and AWB. Teams will buy them. It's just whether we accept the price that we have to sell them at, because we spent 130 million on Maguire and Wan-Bissaka. Type it in the comments. Again, don't just say mad numbers like £1 or say 100 million, because neither of those are going to happen. How much do you think Manchester United could realistically expect to get if hypothetically Maguire and Wan-Bissaka were both sold this summer? We spent 80 million on Harry Maguire. We spent 50 million on Wan-Bissaka. Combined 130. I mean, there's absolutely no chance that we get anywhere near those prices. So we're going to, if they do both leave, we're going to have to accept a loss. But how much? I don't know. Harry Maguire, I don't think we could get more than 30 or 40, I reckon, for him probably. I reckon you could probably get 30, 40 million for Harry Maguire. As I said, apart from, he was decent last season, literally in the team of the Euros, at Euro 2020, the last international tournament where England got to the final. And Aaron Wan-Bissaka is still one of the best. I'm going to drop him to one of the best. I'm not saying he is the best anymore. One of the best defensive one-on-one right backs that exist in football. Right, let me go down here and read a few of your comments out. Tom, you think 40 for Maguire and 20 for Wan-Bissaka, 40 to 50 for Maguire, 20 to 30, maybe 60. 70 combined, 40 and 20, 70 or 60 max up there, 60 mil for those two. Okay, well, I'd say, judging by the majority of the comments, I think you're all in the same sort of ballpark. You're all looking between, let's say, between 50 and 80 million combined. So that's between 80 to 50 million loss. But that's just the way that that's what happens when you spend that much on a player. It's extremely difficult to get any sort of resale value. Let me know in the comments. I'm sure there are some examples, but can you tell me any examples in the comments of signings that clubs have made that are like 50 million plus that they then go on to sell for a profit? And I'm sure there are examples. I just can't think of any on the top of my head. When you spend that much on a player, 80 million, you expect to get the absolute utter best out of that player because you're technically buying a player at the peak of their price. That's what I think anyway. A couple of super chats flying in here, so I'll read them out. Nick, how you doing? Thank you very much, buddy. You're saying, I'm still baffled by the fact that this was a likable group who we all thought lacked one central defensive midfielder for competing for the league. Now only 3 or 4 players are good enough to stay. It's weird how that changed so quickly. Nick, man, that's a great comment because I keep thinking that myself. I keep thinking, how did I genuinely, and for the life of me, I think I'm a pretty reasonable United fan. I think I'm a pretty moderate United fan. I try not to be too knee-jerk. I try to base it, a lot of stuff on facts and opinions over time. And for the life, genuinely, I was like, we're one central midfielder away from competing for the league. That's what I went into this season feeling. Finished second, signed Ronaldo, Varane and Sancho. I was like, And the collapse has been monumental. Like a nuclear bomb has gone off. That's the scale of it. It's unbelievable. Andy, morning, Sam. Facundo Pellistri is our hope for the boy, for the future, the Uruguayan boy. Yeah, Pellistri's broken into the senior setup with Uruguay now. Be excited to see him in preseason again. There were 2 players who were exciting in last preseason. That was Elanga and Pellistri. Elanga's broken through into the first team now. Maybe this is the time that Pellistri will get his chance. I'll head down to the comments here. I'll be interested to see if any of you have left any names down here. Torres, Lukaku is an example. Okay, there's a couple of examples there. Only Chelsea have done that with Hazard. Okay, that's another good example. You're probably going to be looking at, as I said, though, very, very, very few players that you sign for that price that you then go on to either get the same amount for or just a little bit less or a little bit more. United are going to make big losses on Harry Maguire and Aaron Wan-Bissaka as and when they leave. Because they have to leave. In my opinion now, I'll pull this up as an example. Look, I'm going to be doing a video on this later. Maguire has done this on so many occasions this season that it makes me want to bang my head against a brick wall. It's like, I don't get it. Considering the biggest weakness of his game is his pace, you'd think that Harry Maguire would remain a bit more static in his position, right? Because he knows what his weakness is. If he gets exposed in behind, he doesn't have the pace to catch up with it. But so often this season, he's decided to run into that position, to break out of defense, leave an absolute colossal gap in behind. And obviously, Diogo Dalot, he left space there because he had just gone forward. But Harry Maguire saw that. Harry Maguire saw that Diogo Dalot had gone forward. So any intelligent centre-back at that point goes, hold on, our left-back's out of position. I probably shouldn't go forward. Instead, he's just give it the ball. Oh, fuck. He's just running after the ball like a headless chicken, leaves that space in behind. Salah exposes it. Liverpool expose it. 1-0 Liverpool within 4 minutes. Any semblance of a chance there, we needed to stop them scoring in the first 20 minutes. Maguire is just an utter lack of intelligence and game awareness to do that at that point with Diogo Dalot has already made the run at left back. It's unbelievable. As I said, I'm going to be doing a video on Maguire. Again, I've done my feelings towards Maguire have just slowly descended into pure full-on anger now. Anger. At the start of it, I was like, we've got to have a conversation about Maguire. And I won't say this all now. I'm going to save it for the video. But There's one fear that Gary Neville has that I absolutely do share now. And I know a lot of you had this fear early this season. Me as the optimist, I always try and avoid having that sort of fear. But Gary Neville here saying this, that he's worried that Ralf Rangnick could be leaving Manchester United before the season is over. And I can't disagree. At this stage, I cannot disagree. I'll go down here and actually read what Gary Neville said. He said he's ready to go, him. It's only his class and his professionalism that's stopping him telling us what he really thinks about these players. It could come. Arsenal away on Saturday, Chelsea at home next Thursday. I can't think how he's going to keep watching this. He's alluded to it in a couple of interviews, but it really is low because there was nothing in that first half. And there wasn't. Was there anything in that second half? I mean, if you're really trying to drag a positive out of that game, maybe it was like a 2.5 minute period where United actually started to look and play some decent balls. Lingard with balls over the top to Sancho. His one-on-one with Trent. That's about it. And I'm struggling. That's me really scraping the barrel there. Sam, please stop saying fear, it's facts. No, it's not facts because he's not left. So it is fear. Absolutely is fear. Comment here from Stockton. What are you saying, sir? Buy three players, promote quality 3 under 21s, and that's 6 fresh players under Ten Hag that can turn our fortunes around. We must not lose hope. No one's losing hope, Stockton. Hope is the thing that we all have, right? Hope is the thing that going into next season, yeah, man, it can start to be different under Erik Ten Hag. But it will only be different if the direction of the club is true and the focus is true. And the only reason Ten Hag has signed that contract is because he's got those guarantees on paper. That's probably the biggest thing that's filling me with hope. It's the fact that those demands aren't verbal. Those demands are part of that contract. But I have a big fear now about the idea that Rangnick might not be part of it, right? This is the same Ralf Rangnick that is absolutely calling out the fact that this team needed a rebuild 3 weeks after he came in. The same Ralf Rangnick that said it was obvious for me within a month of being a manager that this squad was not good enough, that we need 3 or 4 players. Sod that. We need 8, 9, 10 players. I want Ralf Rangnick to be part of that rebuild. With him alongside it, I think there is a far more substantial chance of that rebuild actually happening and happening properly, correctly. Without Ralf Rangnick there, I fear for it. I absolutely fear. And as I said, what was the point in getting Ralf Rangnick in as our manager, which he hasn't had experience in 2.5 years, if we're not going to ride that wave and then actually use his greatest strengths in a consultancy, in a directing role? What was the fucking point in getting him in the first place? There wasn't a point. Ralf Rangnick would at that point be the wrong appointment. But United, I don't know. Behind the scenes, I just have to be that eternal optimist. The fact that we got Rangnick in, the fact that we've got Ten Hag, for me, are 2 smart decisions, one after the other. Let's see if United can continue coming down this path of making correct decisions, because so many more decisions correctly have to be made over the next... Oh, man, we're just down in the dumps. We are down in the dumps. As I said, I didn't, for the life of me, I didn't think it could get any worse than being pumped 5-0 at Old Trafford by Liverpool. And then I forgot that being pumped 4-0 at Anfield with a raucous Anfield who are going to cheer every single shitty pass that United do is 10 times worse. The humiliation of doing it on your enemy's turf and them just reveling in every single moment of your pain, Schadenfreude all over Anfield yesterday. That's 10 times worse. Absolutely 10 times worse. Sam Gray on Facebook, what are you saying here? That comment caught my eye. Any manager that came in with this set of players was always going to fail. These players would kill Pep or Klopp. Ralf has done more in 6 months in calling out the players, saying it exactly how the fans see it and saying the right things than Ole did in 3 years. Ralf needs to stay. Ole came in after Mourinho and he did what he felt he needed to do. And at the start, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did the right things, said the right things, made the right calls. And that's when him and Mike Phelan, with sort of a tip to the nostalgic past, were doing the right things. And it worked. But as soon as the immediate upturn of those 3 to 4 months or 6 months, wherever it was, at the start of it, and it's like, right, okay, now that we've cleared out that bad feeling, let's take this club forward. Fell short. And saying that, we finished second in his second season. We lost the Europa League final. That was the clincher. Had that final been won, maybe it would have been a very, very different conversation this year. In the same way that I think if we had won those games against Borough, Burnley and Southampton under Rangnick, that the course of this second half of the season would have been very, very different. But it hasn't been, and it isn't, and it's all gone wrong. Erik Ten Hag, man, you have got a hell of a job on your hands. Really have got a hell of a job. And it's not only because of how big the job is at Manchester United. It's because of how fast Man City and Liverpool are running away at the same time. That's what makes the job even more significant, even more difficult. Liverpool is just genuinely, they can win the quadruple this year. Go on, itchy nose. Don't lie. They could genuinely win the quadruple this year. That was easy for them yesterday. Quality. That pass from Mane to Salah was absolutely filthy. And you just got to put your hands up and say, you're looking at a complete team there, man. Luis Diaz scoring, Mane scoring, Salah scoring, all the front three scoring. And they didn't have to get out of second gear in that second half, man. Chris, you're saying, morning, Sam. Never been so disrespected in my life. 25 years to support the club, and I've never seen so much rubbish. And Shubham, you're saying it's like building a whole new club. Gary on Facebook, how you doing, Gary? Saying Ralf must have been shocked by what he walked into at United. I wonder if he'd have taken the job if he had any idea how toxic and useless the players are. I think he probably would have. But again, only because he knew what was coming at the end of the season. And I think what we're seeing with Rangnick is the fact that he didn't have it all written down in a contract. And that is making it difficult now. That's why there's no clarity over the role. Ten Hag refused to do that. He goes, you want me as manager? You write this all down on paper. Let me sign that bit of paper, and that is my job. Ralf Rangnick didn't do that. Ralf Rangnick signed as an interim manager with a nod to a 2-year consultancy role that at that point was undefined. And that is still, at this point, remains undefined. I wish that Ralf got that down on paper as well. That would have made a big, big difference. But look, as I said, if we're taking a look at what Roy Keane had to say, mate, it's sad, man. It's not anger. It was anger in the early in the season. It's just sadness. You look at the team today, no heart, no soul, no leaders. They lack real quality, so far off. You look at the United fans tonight, there's no surprise with the scoreline. Liverpool could score any time they went forward. There is disarray at the club from the top. The fans have no time for the owners. They need a new manager, and they need players in, and they need players out. Yes, Roy, that's all correct. That's all true. I just don't know where to start now. I've already done my to-do list for Ten Hag, and I was like, getting the structure behind the scenes is the first thing he's got to do, which he still does need to do, and hopefully it kind of gets sorted before he came in. But, man, yeah, you can't get over that. You know how sick that is? Sick. 9-0 to Liverpool over 2 fucking legs. 9-0. My word. I mean, it can't get any worse than that. I mean, can it? I mean, fuck knows. I mean, them winning the quadruple, them winning the treble. And the players not thinking. Harry Maguire coming out and genuinely saying, stopping Liverpool winning the quadruple is not a motivation for us. Are you being serious? Is he trying to piss off United? Is he trying to piss off United fans? I don't know. Or is he just a comedy genius? Is it? Well, I don't know. Should absolutely be motivation. Is the one piece of treasured history that United fans can hold on to. The only English club to ever do it. No one's ever been able to do it. You know why? Because it's goddamn difficult. And all of a sudden, we're sitting here having to watch them play Benfica. No, sorry. Villarreal in the Champions League semi-final. They sit top of the Premier League after pumping us 9-0 on aggregate. And they're in the FA Cup final. And that's not motivation to stop that. You're a mug. You're an absolute mug. Sancho not getting a start. Paul, that was simply down to Ralf Rangnick adopting a back seven and playing Elanga and Rashford up front with the intention of hitting them on the counter-attack and bursting. And I tell you what, Rashford had his chance. But Rashford's so out of form, so out of confidence that he doesn't have that clinical nature at the moment. Rashford probably needs 3, 4, 5 shots to score a goal. Mane needed 1. And that's why that touch went astray. But that's why Sancho was on the bench and why Sancho came on. We have been outscored. I mean, is that true? It's bad to drink at 10 o'clock in the morning, isn't it? No, I won't do it. I'm not going to. Only Chelsea and City can. Oh God, man, we really have to stop. We've got to talk about it. We've got to talk about the fact they might get a quadruple. It's sick. It's absolutely sick. Look, Gary Neville and his during the game, as I said, he spoke about not Harry Maguire, Hannibal. He said, I erred on the unprofessional side in commentary when I said I was proud of him because he was going around trying to kick people. But he demonstrated something. He showed us something that he didn't like the idea of Anfield. He didn't like the idea at Anfield of Liverpool passing around him, the idea of Liverpool taking the mickey out of him and his teammates. At least he demonstrated something. I'm not saying it was brilliant that he was kicking Liverpool players and could have hurt them, but as a United fan, they can at least respond to that. The rest of them, there's some of them out there who are probably good lads, good professionals, got good careers and talent, but they're broken. They're finished and they're done this season. They are done. United are done. United have been done for a long time as a football club. Genuinely, like going back to Nick's comment that he left earlier, I almost feel deluded that I genuinely at the start of the season thought that this team was one central midfielder away from competing for the Premier League. And I really thought that. My God, it's been such a drop. A question there from Stormtrooper on YouTube saying, well, who are the toxic United players? I think the list is shorter to say who aren't. There's just so many, and it's not necessarily that they're all toxic. It's just that so few of these players have the sort of charisma, attitude, and leadership to be able to change that narrative inside the dressing room. I'm not saying all this squad is toxic, because that's wrong. But there's like a sweeping negative momentum inside this dressing room that is like all-encompassing now. It's dragging all the players down. And there just simply aren't enough characters or leaders to sort of become the Thames barrier, stop that, and force it back in the other direction. It goes, no, hold up. This is United. Let's go in this direction instead and drag those players with him. That's what leaders do. For every 100 sheep, there's one shepherd. And Man United just got a team of sheep. I don't know if there's any shepherds in there. And that's the issue. That negative feeling that it's just becoming it's choking the team out. And they don't know what to do. They can't get out of it. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again 100 times. I'll scream it from the rooftops. When you're captain of Manchester United, you are held to a different level of standards and accountability. And that is why I go after Harry Maguire. And I will go after Harry Maguire again in a video this afternoon. I don't like to pick individuals out, but I am this time because he's captain and because I think he should be measured differently. Let's go down here and read a few more of the comments. Fair play to Liverpool fans. Oh, yeah, that's a decent comment there. Yeah, that was a nice touch. Yeah, it was a nice touch. And I hope it meant something to Ronaldo and his family. I mean, I hope he's all right, man. I mean, he won't be. The family won't be all right. That must be absolutely heartbreaking beyond any sort of measure. So I just hope he's given the time by the club. Hope he's not involved against Arsenal either. Just take a full week, 2 weeks off if you want to anyway. Just stay with the family, man. Let me go down here and read a few more of your comments. These players have let every manager down and they've let the fans down. We need a complete overhaul of the team. Yeah, we do. Jeez, man, it's been... Tell you one thing. This prick. You're talking about the problems that Manchester United have and the roots of them. He literally led the strategy, in inverted commas, of our club for 10 years. Buying big names, not really names to suit a manager or a style of football, just big names. He said that playing performance doesn't really have a meaningful impact on what we can do on the commercial side of the business. That's been proven to be a complete and utter lie. Manchester United's revenues completely and utterly stagnated in the last few years. His reign and the decisions that he has made have been the core of the core of where we're at right now. It's why it was such a big thing that he left the club, but it's why it's going to take such a long time for us to undo the damage that he and the Glazers did. Oh my God. Seeing his face just pisses me off. Absolute mug. What else am I going to be speaking about here? Geez. Imagine this, right? We all want to get excited about this news, don't we? Erik Ten Hag will be announced as Manchester United's next manager this week. But as Gary Neville said on his during the commentary after the game, it's like this almost feels like a bit of a distraction. Like the club are just going to release it now to take away from the negativity. And it's probably true. But Ten Hag must be looking at this team going, woo, my job is bigger than I thought it was going to be. His job really, really is huge. And look, take off. Everybody expected this to happen. It's the hope that kills you. The idea that Manchester United maybe can get it done. But we went 1-0 down within 4 or 5 minutes. And as soon as that happened, all of us looked at it and went, oh dear, here we go again. And it happened. Absolutely happened. United had no fight or bite or spark, anything in that first 45, apart from that one pass to Rashford. Was it Bruno? I think it was Bruno. And he missed. And then they came out in the second half, and Liverpool, they just sat back. Basically, Liverpool was sitting on the lazy boy chairs, cold beer in hand, job done. And they were like, well, actually, yeah, let's score a third. Why not? May as well score a fourth. And that's what they did in that second half. So kind of what happened. Was it away at City early this season? Was it at Old Trafford? I think it was Old Trafford. When they just toyed with us in the second half. They beat us, but they didn't have to stamp on our body. And that's what they didn't do. Just chilled in the second half, and we had nothing to do. But Erik Ten Hag coming in, man. I hope we get this. If I stand by the fact that there is real hope for Manchester United from next season onwards, in the idea that we change the direction of our club, we change the narrative, we change what we're doing, we change how we operate, we change absolutely everything, and we change 85, 90% of that squad. There are going to be youngsters that come through. I think James Garner, I think Hannibal Mejbri, Alvaro Fernandez. I think I want to see him. I hope that he can be the Elanga of this preseason at left back, because I don't think we're going to invest in our fullbacks in this summer, and we need fresh blood there. So the idea that Alvaro Fernandez can come through, maybe turn into a bit of a Mazraoui type player for Ten Hag at left back. I like the idea of that. It kind of makes sense. 19, ready to come through. I think that could happen. So I think he'd probably be one to watch. Charlie McNeil, he's 18. I don't think he's going to come through at this age, but I might be wrong. And with Cavani leaving, maybe we're just going to bring in someone to bolster that list of strikers at that. I mean, Martial should be leaving as well. Man, that was bad. Shubham, you're saying thoughts on Garnacho. Garnacho, obviously the 17-year-old Argentinian, came through and he's been part of the 2 matchday squads against Norwich and against Liverpool yesterday at Anfield. He's definitely one to watch as well, with Pogba and Matic and Mata. Sorry, Pogba, Mata and Lingard all leaving. There is a space inside that squad for someone like Alejandro Garnacho, but also Hannibal Mejbri. So that's what I mean. There are definitely players that can come through. Hannibal, I would say he's ready. Garner, I would say he's ready. Like Jonathan's saying in the comments there. Garnacho. I don't know whether Garnacho is ready or not yet. Hannibal, I can say with confidence, having seen him at 2 international tournaments. Garner, I can say with confidence, having spent a couple of years out on loan in the Championship and just really growing as an individual. Still only 21, mind. Garnacho might be ready, but we won't really know that. I'll be very interested, as I said, to see Garnacho in pre-season and Fernandez in pre-season, because this rebuild has to come from within and from within and from outside as well. There's got to be a couple of players that come through the academy now, got a great crop and a manager who knows how to use them in Erik Ten Hag. And also, we need to make good signings. That has to happen at the same time, right? And if that all happens at the same time, then we can start moving forward. But look, as I said, I would encourage you to go and watch the video that I've done on Roy Keane. It's just his comments after the game yesterday and my reaction to them. If you want to see what my reaction was after the game, go back and watch the actual match reaction. But as I said, today was the biggest therapy session of all this season. We've had so many therapy sessions here. That's what it feels like. I joke about it, but genuinely, I'm going to lie down on that sofa and someone to ask me what my past has been like. That's what it feels like we're watching United. There's no real sign of progress. If anything, we're just diving further and further into the black hole. And the job's huge. The job is huge. I hope full well. I absolutely hope full well that this man is allowed to stay at the club and that we give him an actual position and a role which makes sense. I don't want to see us ignoring Ralf Rangnick. I don't want, because so often this season, he just constantly speaks the truth, honestly, and he gets me. I'm just nodding along. As a fan, I'm like, yes, yep, that's exactly wrong. Yep. And I've done that so often this season. I rarely disagree with what Ralf Rangnick has to say. And that's why I want him inside that board. And that's why I think he could be so important, just as important, maybe not just as important as Erik Ten Hag, but all of those pieces of the puzzle have to be fitted together at the same time. That's what I think anyway. Look, I could talk, I could speak all morning about this, but I really don't bloody want to, and I'm sure you don't want me to either. Look, anybody who joined in and you knew, welcome to United People's TV, please consider dropping a like on the video and subscribing to United People's TV. I will be back a little bit later on today at lunchtime with a video on Harry Maguire. Spoiler alert, I'm not going to compliment him. I've also got the reaction from yesterday, my match reaction, and from Roy Keane. There's plenty of content on United People's TV. We got a hell of a time coming up as fans. We can all hope that the direction should be steered far, far better with Erik Ten Hag, with that. But will it happen? Well, I'll be here and you'll be here to follow that process. But thank you very much for joining in. Don't drink at 10:20 in the morning unless you get spanked by Liverpool. Then, yeah, why not?